Hello everyone, I am Rachna Narayan and today we would be discussing on the topic of electoral bonds. To start with the topic, we need to understand why this topic is in news and what is happening in our country which is leading to this electoral bond system. So, what is the news all about? We have seen that few days back, Supreme Court, while it was hearing the petition against electoral bonds, have said that 5 judges constitutional bench would be given in this case and the hearing will start from 31st October. So, we'll start with understanding what is this electoral bond, why is there a case happening in this electoral bond and who are the petitioners and what is the petition all about. So, in the beginning we'll see who are the petitioners who have filed a case against the electoral bond. There are 3 petitioners in this case. The first one is the Communist Party of India, Marxist. The second one are basically 2 non-governmental organizations, 2 NGOs. First one is the Common Cause and the second one is the Association of Democratic Reforms. So basically these 3 organizations have filed petition in the Supreme Court against electoral bond and in this case only this hearing was going on. So we need to understand why has the Supreme Court given this judgment that 5 judges bench would be appointed. And what is the provision in the constitution about this 5 judge bench? So our Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, have said that this case of electoral bond is a matter of national interest and that is why according to Article 145 Clause 4, it has to be referred to the 5 judge bench. So what is this Article 145 Clause 4? This article says that if there is any petition in the court which is pertaining to a question of national importance and second leading to the interpretation of constitution of India, then if these 2 things are fulfilled, then the matter would be passed on to the 5 judge bench. And that is why in this matter also our Chief Justice of India have said that it would be passed on to the 5 judge bench. Now, so we need to understand what is this whole electoral system and why is there a case going around in the matter of electoral bond. So what is this electoral bond? Electoral bond system is a new system. It was basically introduced in 2017 through a finance bill which was given by our then finance minister Sri Arun Jaitley ji. This system was implemented in 2018 and it was introduced for electoral donations. It means we know that the political parties in India get a donation from all over the world and also from the people or from the citizen of the country. So this system was implemented so that there should be an anonymity in the donation system. 2 things were introduced through this system. The first one was that the cash donation would be less than 2000 rupees and the second one was that if one need to donate more than 2000 then they can only donate it through electronic medium. They can only donate it through electronic medium And that is why this whole system of electoral bond was introduced. Now, so what were the process and what was the process through which electoral bond system was to be implemented in India? For this, State Bank of India came into picture. It was said, according to the system, State Bank of India would issue bonds and with a denomination of ranging from rupees 1000 to rupees 1 lakh. So it had bonds of rupees 1000, 10,000, 1 lakh, 10 lakh and 1 crore. And whosoever want to donate to a political party, they have to buy these bonds. They have to buy these bonds and then give these bonds to the political party. Here one clause was implemented that the validity of these bonds were 15 calendar days. It means that whosoever is giving the donation to the political party, their identity would be hidden. Their identity would be hidden, and this was only done to maintain the anonymity of the person who is donating in the political parties. Now, it was the other clauses of this system was the eligibility of the political party, so that, and which political party which basically get the donation, could get the donation. Here also two clauses were added. The first one was the section 29A of the Representation of People's Act. The Representation of People's Act 1951. So the first clause was that according to section 29A of Representations of People Act 1951, whichever political party have been registered in India, which have been registered in India, can only get the donation. And the second clause was that which those political party can only get donation who have get at least 1% of the total votes that has been pulled in the last general election. It means the eligibility criteria were two. First, that it should have to be registered under the Representations of People Act, and the second one, it could at least get 1% of the total votes in the last general election. So it means that it was a new system. Before 2017, what was happening that had led to this system? Before 2017, basically, there was more of a cash transaction in donations. And that's why, to make it more cashless and also to maintain the anonymity, this whole system was implemented. So, if this is a new system, what has basically led to the petition? Why are these political party and the NGOs are filing petition against this new system? That we need to understand. There are two reasons why the petitions have been filed. The first one is the discrepancy shown in the ADR report. And the second one is the process through which the electoral bond scheme was implemented. The process that this electoral bond system was implemented through a finance act. And that's why it had bypassed the debates in the Rajya Sabha. So these two reasons became the main reasons why the petition was filed. So we look at the first reason initially. The first reason was the discrepancy of the ADR report. So what is this ADR? We have seen that ADR is one of the petitioner of this case. ADR is Association of Democratic Reforms, and this is an non-governmental organization which is running in India since 1999. It had its main office in New Delhi. So this ADR has found a report, has basically published a report in which it has seen that after the incoming of electoral bond system, a lot of changes in donation, in the political party donation have increased. So it has found that between 2016-17 and 21-22, the amount of donation is 9,188.31 crore through electoral bond. It means a large amount of money is basically being added in the political parties in just the gap of few years. The second important part of this report was it was found out that in 2019-20, that was the year of general election, the donation was 3,438.82 crores. It means in just 1 year, the political parties have got this amount of donation. And it was also found one more point of this report was that there is an meticulous increase in the whole donation system. An increase is the 3-numbered increase, that is 743% increase in the donation system. It means due to the introduction of the electoral bond system, the national parties have seen, it is seen that in the national parties, the donation have increased to 743%, which is a very alarming situation. And the second reason why the petition was filed was the whole process of the introduction of this electoral scheme. It was seen that electoral bond system was introduced through finance bill. It was introduced as a finance act and it was introduced through a finance bill. Now, what is the constitutional provision pertaining to this finance bill? This is added in article number 117 clause 1 of the Constitution of India. So, what is this article 117 clause 1? It says that if the finance minister introduces a finance bill, then it can bypass the Rajya Sabha. It means that the debate would happen in Lok Sabha where the bill would be introduced and it would directly go to the president for the final signatures. It means the whole process of debate in Rajya Sabha was bypassed in the system of electoral bond, and which raised a question that why it has happened so. Also in this finance bill, apart from the electoral bond system, 4 major changes were done. 4 major amendments were also done. These amendments were regarding the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, FCRA. The second one was the Representation of People Act, 1951. The third one was the Income Tax Act of 1961, and the fourth one was the Companies Act of 2013. In these acts also major amendments were done which has raised an alarm. So, what were these amendments and why the alarm was raised? So, it was found that the Election Commission of India has basically filed an affidavit in the Supreme Court claiming that these 4 amendments which were done through the finance bill of 2017 had led to more donations and has also led to large amount of cash inflow in the political parties. So we'll talk about the first amendment that was done. The first amendment was done in the FCRA. Which is the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act 2010. Due to the amendment that has happened in the finance bill, the companies, the foreign companies which have their stakes in the Indian market or the Indian companies, now they can also donate in the political parties. The second one is the Representations of People Act. The Representation of People Act 1951. In this act also an amendment was done, and through this act it was said that the political parties need not to report the donation it is getting through the electoral bond system. So initially the political parties have to report about each and every donations they get, but through the amendment it was said that they can be exempted. The third amendment it had done was in the Income Tax Act, the IT Act of 1961. The amendment here was that initially the political party who were getting donation, they had to give the proof about the donations, and the person who were donating, they also have to show their proper PAN card or the ID details. But through the amendment that has happened in 2017, it was said that if you are getting a donation of rupees 20,000, then here you did not need to show your PAN card. So, and the last amendment was about the Companies Act. The Companies Act of 2013. Through this amendment, it basically somehow allowed the foreign companies to donate in the political party through their shell companies in India. It means that although the electoral bond system was brought to maintain the anonymity, to maintain that the donation could be brought into control, but the amendments that happened and the process through which had happened was not actually what it had planned, the way it had been planned. And these amendments were basically brought into light by the Election Commission of India, which has found that there is some issues and problem in the electoral bond system. So, at last we will see that the petitions have been filed, the petitioners we know, the reasons why the petition have been filed have been discussed, but this electoral bond system was only brought to hide the identity of the donors and also the recipients. But it has also led to numerous problems. One is the right to know of the voters were infringed. The right to know, which has been given to the citizen of India through Article 19 of the Constitution, and which is a fundamental right, this was infringed in the name of anonymity of the donors. Also, it could not make or could not control the donors and the amount of money from where the donors were getting the money and who basically is donating to the political parties. Also, a lot of unauthorized donation was seen into light, and that's why the electoral bond system need to be more and more regularized to control this unauthorized donations. And the last issue is the crony capitalism. Through the electoral bond system, the chronic capitalism was rising. And it was seen that in the Indian system also, this system of chronic capitalism was being introduced through the electoral bond system. What is this chronic capitalism? Chronic capitalism is basically the relationship between the business leaders and the government officials and the political parties. So, this electoral bond system basically facilitated this system of chronic capitalism, which is being proved wrong for the Indian system. Thank you so much.